Can you hear me now? Let me know if you guys can hear me. I'm having some kind of weird issue with this. I think I'm unmuted. I'm trying something a little different today. Sorry, gang. Um, in any case, so can you guys hear me or no? Okay, thank you. Silent film looking motherfucker. There you go. Militant. Awesome. Hey, copycat. All right, so let me repeat what I had said since I apparently muted myself somehow. We're hearing reports that because we lack security at our southern border, there's reports that foreign actors have either attempted to or may have successfully brought manpads or surface to air missiles into the country, allegedly to target Trump. Now, for that reason, they could just as easily target the president or whoever the hell else. I've got so many questions about what the hell's going on. How did two dumbasses, and I'm going to go into this more in another video, but how did two dumbasses get that close to a presidential candidate? And why the hell would we be having surface-to-air missiles snuck into the country? Me personally, I'm wondering if those might happen to be Stingers or SA-7s, which are Russian-made, by the way, that were left in Afghanistan for the Taliban. The weapons we left there are not going to stay there. I mean, the Taliban now has a perfectly equipped army, but they're going to give it to their friends, right? There are people who have the money and the wherewithal to pay tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring such things into the country. Now, I haven't confirmed it because it's all rumor. Everyone's saying a source this, a source that. That would be horrendous. If you look at FlightAware 24, Flight 24, Flight Radar 24, there's thousands of aircraft in the air every day. Tens of thousands of people in those planes every day. And for us to have allowed, I don't think we've even had Russia or many third world countries get their hands on surface to air missile. Pilgrim, I hope it's scuttlebutt. And again, I'm qualifying this by saying I can't confirm it because every article I read is allegedly a source says, the FBI said, these guys can't confirm. It's all, there's a fox in the hen house somewhere. Yeah, Loretta, absolutely. And honestly, I think that's the big problem is there are a lot of entities that are not interested in having Donald Trump win. There are other entities that don't want Kamala to win. And ultimately, all of us, I feel like we're a bunch of peasants being caught between warring kings. I don't know if that analogy is right. Like these rich and powerful people, these aristocrats, these globalists, these technocrats, whatever they are, oligarchs, are fighting with each other for power, and our asses are in the middle. We're the ones who'll bleed. We're the ones who'll suffer. We really can't do much about that. But if that's the case, I will tell you, I'm going to be paying attention to everything now, not to be paranoid, just to see what the hell's going on. We've all said it before, kind of get familiar with your area. If you go for walks like I try to do in the morning, don't wear music or headsets too loud. You shouldn't anyway, because you can't hear anything. You'll just get hit by a car. Yeah, Rip. And what scares me is RPGs, by their design, are meant mainly for surface targets. I mean, you can hit an aircraft, but they'd have to be low. But things like a Stinger, an SA-7, some of the other anti-aircraft, those things will go to 15, 20,000 feet and smack an aircraft and knock it out of the sky. And that's concerning. But We are peasants. Yeah, Billy, we absolutely are. And people are scared to act. What they'll do, actually, if you do act, is they'll try and make you broke. If they can't make you broke, they'll arrest you. Or they'll accuse you of ridiculous things, like a guy who's never done anything wrong in his life. Oh no, he paid for hookers, or he had child porn, or he took drugs. They'll defame you so that people don't believe you. And this is a thing that's happened before. No, Dan, absolutely, it is watching for our own ass. Hey, Rebecca Lynn, welcome. And anyone at Random Dude, hello, Teresa, Rip Curl, thank you for joining in today. So, folks, pay attention to what's going on around you. You see people using rangefinders at the airport. That would be sus to me. That would be very suspicious. Hell, I have, like I said before, I have a recreational drone pilot's license. And I have to go on an app and look at what my clearance is, because I live near an airport. So it's like where I live, I can go up to like 200 meters, or basically 250-ish yards. I'm not rounding that off quite right. But as I get closer to the airport, there's a point where I can't go like over my head. Like I can zoom across the ground. Then you get even closer, you have to be on the ground. The surface-to-air missiles are concerning. What also concerns me is what's going on in Russia, Ukraine. The use of drones, that's not hard to replicate. And the technology is there. So you bring in the right type of drone with the right payload, you can do a lot of damage. It's important for everyone just to pay attention to what's going on around you. And again, it's not to be paranoid, it's to be alert. If you know your area, like I drive around all the time, I'm going to notice if something's way out of place. Unless I'm completely distracted, I'm going to be like, I've never seen one of those trucks before. Or why are those guys using a rangefinder near the airport? Stuff like that. It's like, what the hell are you doing? Hudson Valley made a great point the other night for the Four Horsemen video. He said, I think it was Hudson, maybe it was Vision. You put on a high visibility vest and get a toolbox, and people think you're construction worker, and you can pretty much go anywhere. I've actually done that. I've actually used my hard hat, and I wanted to see something. I just threw a hard hat on, and I look like the architect or the engineer supervising a site. I'm just going in to put eyes on. It works both ways. We can do that. We see something sus, we can be like, I'm gonna put my hard hat on and my safety glasses, and I'm gonna walk to that corner and just look at what they're doing. Not that you should get yourself arrested for trespass, but pay attention. I can't compute how we've gone from the country that created the movie Red Dawn, not the new one, the original one, to the country that may have surface-to-air missiles coming over the border. Like, where the hell did that happen? That actually pisses me off. It should piss you off. It's like, who fell asleep at the wheel? Well, besides Joe Biden, he kind of falls asleep everywhere, but who fell asleep at the wheel? And if you want an analog, hey, Lisa, hey, Bug Out, look at what happened after 9/11. Everything got grounded. Travel got restricted. A good example would be if you mix all the government reactions to COVID with all the 9/11. So let's just say bad guys went and attacked an airport, or they started shooting down planes just to scare the shit out of everyone, right? They don't have to shoot down Trump. They could just shoot down some random ass airplane, right? It's like blowing up a Walmart. Everyone goes on Walmart. Everyone gets on an airplane. Hey, coffee, thanks. It would scare the shit out of everyone. But what would happen? Think about it. They ground all the aircraft. So if you're on a travel flight and you got stuck at your destination and you were flying home and they grounded you, guess what? You're going to walk home, or you better go find a rental car, because everyone in the airport is going to go for the rentals. which just goes back to my travel prepping stuff. Yeah, Loretta, exactly. It just leaves you exhausted. Um, During COVID, remember, states were putting the National Guard and state troopers at the border. You wanted to go from state to state, you had to check in. I could see that, especially if someone is using anti-aircraft weapons or some other heavy military weapon. It's really not a weapon of mass destruction. God forbid one of those gets in the country, because we wouldn't know either. They would close off border. You'd have restricted travel. You would have limitations on where you can go. They'd probably do the essential worker thing again and be like, okay, if you work for one of these industries, you are essential. The rest of you stay home, stay off the street. It would cause a whole new freak out. But a good way to think about what could possibly happen, look at what happened in 9/11 and look at what happened during COVID. There were two very different events, but I could see aspects of both happening if there was a terror attack that took down airliners or was attacking mass transit or attacking highways or something like that. Again, a lot of hypothesis, right? Because we don't know exactly what the scenario would play out to be. So when you travel, when you have family at high school, you have family members in college. If you trained attack ferrets, there you go. If you have to travel to visit someone, because we all have to go somewhere at some point. We can't just hide in our bedrooms. Plan for that. Understand, hey, so if I go from Dallas to Houston, that's a 4.5 hour drive. Or Houston to Dallas, right? I lived in Houston. Say I go to Dallas and something pops off. Well, now I'm in Dallas. I'm stuck there. Do I have friends locally? Do I have coworkers? Do I have a work facility I can go to? Right? I can go to one of my operating shops and I can find resources there, right? I can find PPE, right? Personal protective equipment, safety glasses, work gloves, hard hat. That's valuable. I can refill my water from the water cooler at the shop. Maybe I'd be lucky and I can get a shop truck. I can fuel it up and then turn it in when I get back home because I have a facility by my house. Is someone else from my company getting home and they have a car? I can piggyback with them, and now it's 2 or 3 of us splitting the drive. And remember, they're going to be blocking roads. It would take a lot longer to get from A to B. So having 2 or 3 drivers would be great. Well, Pilgrim, exactly. So if you're planning and you understand, wow, if something happens, these things can cascade in that manner. How do I prepare? For instance, I'll tell you what I do. When I make a business trip, I always rent a car. I did the little thumbs up again. See, I hang out with Italians and I talk with my hands and then it gives me a thumbs up. When you're traveling, I travel a lot. I always try, if I can, to rent a car at my destination. I don't rely on Ubers. Unless I'm drinking, I'll go Uber to and from the restaurant to my hotel. Militant, stuck in Houston myself today. See, and again, in Houston Airport, I don't know if you're at Bush or Hobby. Bush Airport is a massive city all by itself. There are restaurants, there's stores, there's other things you can buy if you needed some resources like food or clothing. It would be expensive, but you can get them locally and you can kind of plan. So if you get stranded in an airport, say during the winter, right, and there's a big panic and you don't have a jacket, you're like, well, I can go to the tourist place and get a stupid hoodie. Condo in St. Pete flooded, had about an inch of water. Wood floor has to go. Oh no, that's right. And there's another example, like the hurricane that just hit Florida. That would give you an example of what's happening. If there were any kind of attacks, law enforcement will shut down the roads, right? Because they want the roads free to do their thing. If National Guard, federal agents, whoever's responding to whatever the hell's happening, you don't want to be on the road. You want to be hunkered down. Understanding what could happen to the general public while you're in a remote location trying to get back home could be very valuable. So, Helene went around us. That's good. So, yeah, folks, I don't know. I can't validate if they know for sure they're SAMs. surface terror missiles in the country. Nobody really knows. See, in Milton, I lived there for 15 years. I liked it, but I lived in the suburbs. So I lived from the middle of downtown. I lived northwest, out where the pine trees were nice and tall. I lived it was suburban, but it was nice suburban. I had a big lot in my subdivision. So I was starting to plant stuff, like grow my own stuff when we wound up getting moved. But oh yeah, we need to check on Mamacita. She may not have connectivity. If anyone gets an update on Mamacita 904, shoot me an email, and so we know she's okay. I got to check with all American preppers in Florida, but I can't remember what part of Florida. So I'm sure he's fine because he's off grid, but I'm more worried about tree damage and rain damage, not that he's not prepared. But we don't know what's happening. There's a lot of, well, this source says unconfirmed this and that. The important thing is, don't be scared. Don't freak out. Be alert. Look for things that don't sound or look right. And then if something's really out of whack, the worst is you call the non-emergency number for your local law enforcement, the sheriff, for instance. And you say, hey, I saw these guys. They're loading some weird stuff. It looks like a pile of weapons, and it's not like they were heading to the shooting range or something. This is the vehicle. This is the license plate. They may or may not follow up. But if there's a car nearby, the guy might put eyes on whoever it is. The worst case, you've inconvenienced, it might have been some workers. They're like, the cops, now they have to get paperwork out. So be it. But also plan, because again, we all have to go somewhere during the course of a week. And, as Militant pointed out, so from downtown Houston to there's two loops. There's a 610 loop and then Beltway 8. And now there's the Grand Parkway. To go from the middle of downtown to the Beltway is almost a 45-minute drive. If you walk it, it's 7 to 9 hours by Apple Maps. That's assuming nothing's flooded, there's no riots, nobody's hurting anyone. You can just get up and walk. Now think about that. That's a long time to walk. Most people, even if you're at a calm pace, you're going to get tired. You're going to have to pee. You're going to need some water along the way. Okay, he's all American is good. Okay. It's, you need to keep in mind, if you're in a place like Houston, right, it's a long drive. Even from my little city, I looked at Apple Maps. It gives me a pretty decent estimate. And from my office to the house is about an hour and a half walk. Now, I've done 2-hour backpack hikes before. I know I can throw on my get-home bag and I can get on foot. I also know where there's restaurants, convenience stores, other stuff that I can go and find something I may need. But again, plan for these things. And I've already pulled my bag out of my truck. So I'm going to go through it again. I might actually repack it based on what I see. Remember, prepping isn't set in stone, right? You prep a certain way and then you learn something new and you kind of course correct, right? You just kind of shift a little bit and do something different. So folks, to be honest, I don't know if it's true. If it is true and somebody got anti-aircraft weapons into the country, that's bad. Not much we can do about it, but we can prepare for what could happen if there's an attack, even if it doesn't involve us. What's the country going to do? They're going to ground flights. They're going to shut down roads. There's going to be checkpoints everywhere. You need to understand how all those pieces fit together so you can get home safely, not get detained, not get in an accident, hopefully not run into like the Taliban or something. And just be smart about the way we go about our day. And again, staying home saves money. If you can do a meeting on Teams or on Zoom or on the phone and you don't have to drive from A to B or fly from A to B, that's infinitely better than taking yourself out of your hometown and dropping off in another city. So in any case, my wife had to park 10 blocks away and walk in rubber boots to her condo. Oof. And by the way, don't play in floodwaters. I know random dude knows this, but because typically they will overflow the septic systems and they will overflow the sewage. And so basically it's shit water. And if you're walking around out there, you have any open cuts, you're going to get infected, because my son did. And he had to get a little piece taken out of a foot, which was painful. Then they had to stitch him up. So he never forgot that. But in any case, folks, look, be alert to this stuff. Don't freak out, but be observant. Okay. When the Texas people found those 2 missing kids, it's because an alert went out and people started paying attention. And people saw things, called it in, and sure enough, they found some of the kids. That's a big deal. So if we see something and I'm like, that son of a bitch has a bazooka, I'm being facetious, but it's like, that guy has a rocket launcher. That's not right. Call it in. You might be the difference. It's not that we're snitching on people, but if there's a bad actor who's going to do harm to us, we could be the one who catches or notices something that could hurt us later on. Hey, Wolfgang. So in any case, folks, I'm going to leave you with that thought. If I get a legit update on this particular story, I will let you know. Right now, I can't confirm it. And more than likely, the FBI may not want to spread it out much more. But, I mean, they had to alert us, too. So, and again, they could be setting the stage for an October surprise. I mean, it's an election year. Who the hell knows? In any case, folks, look, you guys be good, be safe, stay blessed. I just left the range. I took my HK 416 out and I threw some downrange and I made a mess on my hands, but now I got to go pick up dinner. So I was going to do a cooking live, but the dogs get in the way and they knock the tripod down. But tonight, for those of you who are asking me, will be classic fajitas, pico de gallo, chips, and probably some corn on the side. So, Mexican style street corn. So should be good. And I'm actually using a Hawaiian rub on the fajitas. So that should have a good taste to it. But in any case, folks, be careful, be safe. Yeah, Billy, stay frosty. Don't panic. Look at your get home bag. Look at your stuff in your vehicle and see, do I need to change anything? Now's a great time to do a pack check. So you guys be safe out there. Be careful. And I will see you all later on this week. God bless you and be safe this weekend. You guys take care.